Mr. Kotsiopoulos, I'm going to read the question from YouTube, from the streaming. Why should we necessarily go back to Christianism? Something that will lead us backwards? We will not be able to prepare the ground for this new era. What one could say to this question, according to the Paris Declaration, but according to the Orthodox consciousness, is the following. Christianism is helping us to go forwards, not backwards. This is the first thing. The roots of our history are in Christianity. And Christianity goes hand in hand with social progress and political progress. Democracy, human rights, the separate roles of the state and the church, everything is mentioned in the Holy Bible. We did not wait for the French Revolution to talk about human rights. The Lord gave those commandments. The freedom, religious freedom, everyone that wants may follow me by denying himself and bearing the cross. The labor law and all those constitutional rights and principles that now are parts of our legal civilization that have their roots in Christianity and in the Bible. We don't want any kind of theocracy, and of course, when it comes to this topic that this conference discusses, artificial intelligence, we don't want an deification of the technocratic positivism, the deification of artificial intelligence that wants to turn this earth into a heaven. And this is the wrong of the institutionalization of utopia that builds heavens on earth. There is no such a thing as a heaven of earth in order to build the post-human that will not get sick or die, since this is the vision of posthumanism. If we want to be certain, we have to discuss some political parties, and they want to control the mind through artificial intelligence or the implantation of microchips. There are actual political parties that have this agenda in order to avoid revolutions. So we want Christianity to be active and to shape consciousness. Professor, Mr. Economy, you have the floor. Let me congratulate four speakers for very interesting speeches who have touched upon the heart of that conference. However, I wanted to stress the following. When we talk about the special circumstances that appear within the framework of woke culture, sex change, and situations that exist in the unnatural area, because we have mentioned this morning that some things are unnatural. This is why it would be critical for this conference to clear which is the perspective as it. And this question was very good and well done, Kostas. Your answer was excellent when it comes to the fact that Christianity moves humanity towards the future, not backward, because Christianity changed history, changed the idolatry, and women were helped, and their role was reinstituted, slavery. So the contribution of Christianity is a sine qua non condition. Christianity is writing the history and the church, and in that civilization that was shaped with the help of Christianity for the last 2,000 years, this is where the truth, the life and freedom of human lies. The use of the Apocrypha Gospels are are heresies, heretical texts that the Church disapproved of. However, the Church chose specific topics from the Apocryphal Gospels. For example, the birth of Virgin Mary. Therefore, the civilization reflects the truth and the progress of humanity. Every marginal idea is just peripheral. Yes, Father? Hello?
Father John Parker. Thank you very much for a beautiful panel. This is a question regarding orthodoxy as being expressed in the Americas and in the English-speaking world, in contrast to what is actually taking place in these parts of the world where orthodoxy has been the standard of Christianity for centuries. I often see from our brethren and fathers from across the ocean that they're often asking for these this diakrisis, this capacity to make things clear. And your issue about eυλογείται, about blessing, is all about keeping this diakrisis in place. And very often it is felt that what's happening already in the Anglo-Saxon world, in the United States or elsewhere, is not already taking place here, or is not actually taking place to the extent that it is taking place there. So I wonder, drawing also from the legal issues that are drawn from the examples of the previous presentation, if you could sort of put it frankly to this part of the world, whether we should be a little bit more touchy about defining things more cautiously and making distinctions which might be painful and which might cause friction, but which might be absolutely necessary in order to protect the values of our societies and of our people. Thank you.
Can you? Yes, you can. Thank you for that question. I'll do my best to answer that in some brief fashion at least. I don't think I could presume as an Orthodox Christian from the United States to state how things should be done in a different country. I can say that I apologize for my country for exporting most of this to the rest of the world. I would say that my perspective is grounded in a 3-year study of catechesis, because as I mentioned in my paper, we represent as Orthodox Christians 3 to 5 people out of every 1,000. That means every 997 people in 1,000 are not Orthodox. We have a substantial influx of folks into our church at this point. We're still a vast minority, but it is true that in our churches there could be, even in the smallest of churches, the church in Columbia, South Carolina, whose priest, Father Ignatius, is here, is not a small church. 100, 150 people on a Sunday, I imagine maybe more by this point. That's my memory from 6 years ago. They have 30 catechumens right now. In the early centuries of catechesis, which I studied for my Doctor of Ministry, specifically because I was concerned about why I was having so many people come into the church and quickly leave the church. It's a complicated problem in the United States of America because we don't have what the scriptures would term stick-to-itiveness, perseverance. What I did find in the early centuries is especially, there's a beautiful book called The Catechumenate in the First 6 Centuries by Michel Dujarier. Forgive me, professor, for my bad French pronunciation. You can see this sort of thing there, which says that in those days that one had to abandon his works of the flesh in order to be presented as a catechumen by his sponsor in advance to the bishop. In order to become a catechumen at the beginning of Lent, and then be instructed during the 40 days and so forth. So in our land, and in the reason why I believe why I am so concerned about these kinds of precise things is in order to continue the inheritance that we had from Orthodox Christians from the beginning, that the works of the flesh must be abandoned in order to become a Christian. It doesn't mean that we are perfect on our reception into the church, but that we no longer call evil good, good evil, and so forth. So it's just a return, from my perspective, to basic Orthodox Christian catechesis, which at the end is the expression of what it means to be becoming a human being. I hope that helps. Thank you.
The gentleman at the back of the room, please. The lady, I do apologize. However, comments are off the mic. Thank you very much, Chair. All 4 speeches has been wonderful. I would like to express my concern for the following. Listening to my dear colleague Konstantinos Kotsiopoulos and his speech about work culture, I could not help but wonder that I come from a completely different world. My background is different. So I wonder about human reason. How does it face work culture? We would like to believe that some main beliefs that we have are supported to our reason. Christianity, or in Christianity, word and reason play a very important role. You theologians know that better than me. Therefore, when work culture comes and revokes everything that either good or bad have believed until now, and according to Heraclitus, the human reason is common, then what is the place of reason? What is the role of reason in work culture? And what can we give us an answer, if there is an answer to be given? Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the professor of ethical philosophy in the Aristotle University. And we have been together in a lot of conferences. The question is reasonable. How can we listen to those paradoxes that are not part of the common reasoning if we all participate in that reason? Reference is made to the voluntarism, to the will of each soul. So reason is affected by the will and the desires of some person. If I have other parameters in my thinking, then I end up to these paradox results. And this was also the case to the heresies of the past. So those are issues that go far away from the right reason, and we enter the era of para-religion. Religion is not an unreasonable action of the soul. The word and the reason without belief and without religion is paradox, and this is the case in the work agenda. And let us remember the fathers of our church and their patristic writings. Thank you very much. 2 more questions. I don't know if you also want to answer.
For those of us in the Greek Orthodox Church in the United States, what advice do you have, being from the OCA, for our many, many priests that fear to speak the word of his truth regarding these issues of same-sex marriage and these relationships, for fear of losing their positions?
You can hear me now, that's good. Let us take the example of the Lutheran people that we saw in Finland, who are willing to stand behind their faith, no matter what the result is. Our Lord Jesus Christ said, "The truth shall set you free." It's easy for me to say because I'm not in any kind of position of having my position threatened by the words that I've shared today. I acknowledge in times and places that I'm not, that there are others who may be. I hope under a similar circumstance, if there were one in my life, that I would be willing to do what I just said. But we have the example of many non-Orthodox Christians who are willing to go even to prison for long periods of time for simply stating the truths of the Scriptures. So the truth will set us free.
The last question.
Hello, I have a question for Father John Parker regarding what he said about blessings previously. Can a priest refuse to give a blessing based on a spiritual inclination or instinct which he feels in a moment? So, for example, he gives a blessing to 10 people, but he's got a feeling that one person shouldn't receive that blessing for that specific action.
It's difficult to comment on those kinds of questions in general, but I think that based on what I was trying to share, a blessing is a good word, and a good word cannot be said about an evil thing. It is also the case that priests need to be extremely judicious. Diakrisis was mentioned, discernment in particular cases, and we know as a function of our faith that there may be two people who are dealing with the same sin in their lives, who are given diametrically opposite, the blessing for diametrically opposite practices in their lives in order to overcome those particular things. The challenge that we would face in those cases is if everyone in the parish starts talking about why person X was blessed to do this one and person Y was blessed to do that one, when because they shared with themselves what the things were, it looks like it's a different answer to the same question from the perspective of the pastor who is not permitted by his priesthood to share the underlying pastoral concerns. It's going to look like he's making choices differently for different people. That's just something that we have to suffer as priests, presuming that we're doing the right thing in both cases.